began launching off the carrier and trying to intercept another mysterious object that the Princeton's radar was tracking. Now, when Fravor wasn't able to capture the encounter on video, one of the pilots who took off after Fravor landed tried to track it down. He managed to capture the video on our Tic Tac on video using a highly sensitive infrared camera. Now, if you haven't seen the Tic Tac video, please watch it. It's truly unbelievable. It's easy to find. Just go to Google and search Tic Tac UFO. You'll find it. Okay. Now, while the Nimitz incident seemed to be known in naval circles, it didn't really come to public attention until 2017, when the New York Times ran that article that we talked about the sighting, and released the video of the Tic Tac shot by the Nimitz pilot that day. Now, the New York Times also revealed the existence of a little-known Defense Department initiative called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP. The shadowy enterprise, as the Times referred to it, had a budget of just $22 million, which is nothing compared to the DoD budget, but it was a pet project of then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. The Senate Majority Leader of the United States Senate, that was his pet project. Consider that. Now, although the government told the Times that ATIP had officially shut down in 2012, its former director, Luis Elizondo, insisted it was still operating. In fact, Elizondo left the program in October of 2017, protesting that his work wasn't being taken seriously enough by the DoD. Kevin Day, senior radar operator on the USS Princeton. That's his synopsis of the Tic Tac UFO. And there's more. This gentleman named Chad Underwood. Now, Chad Underwood was another Navy pilot from the Nimitz, and this is his accounting of the Tic Tac UFO. Chad Underwood broke 15 years of silence on the subject. This is according to the UK Independent. He broke 15 years of silence on the subject, describing the object he recorded over the Pacific Ocean as not behaving within the normal laws of physics. Underwood said it was going like 50,000 feet to 100 feet in seconds, which is not possible, but that's what he saw. Now, the Tic Tac, that's what they call it because of the shape and white color, was caught on video by the U.S. Navy, and they attempted to identify a series of objects spotted on radar flying off the America's coast in November of 2004. The authenticity of the film, which was first made public in 2017, as we've talked about before, was finally confirmed by the Pentagon earlier this year. Officials say they still had no idea what the recorded object was. Weather phenomenon, man-made craft, and birds have all been ruled out. Let me repeat that. This is according to the Pentagon. They don't know what this thing is. It's not a weather phenomenon. It's not a bird or birds. And it's not a man-made aircraft. So what does that mean? The Pentagon has said, yep, man didn't make this. If man didn't, who did? Now, Chad Underwood described what he saw. He said, the thing that stood out to me the most was how erratic it was behaving. And what I mean by erratic is that it changes in altitude, airspeed, and aspect, just unlike things I've never encountered before. It was flying against other targets, okay? It was just behaving in ways that aren't physically normal, maybe possible. That's what caught my eye, because aircraft, whether they're manned or unmanned, still have to obey laws of physics. They have to have some sort of lift, some sort of propulsion, and the Tic Tac was not doing that. That's all in quotes from Chad Underwood. Now, the sighting came during a 2-week period in which the USS Princeton had noted unknown aircraft intermittently passing across its radar system and off the West Coast. So there's two accounts. One says over 100 sightings. This report says this was happening over a 2-week period. So this is not a once and done thing. In fact, it was so important that the Princeton told the Nimitz guys, hey, look, you need to go out and take a look at this. Now, the contact was considered so inexplainable that the system was shut down and rebooted and checked for bugs. They thought that the equipment must be broken. But the operators continued to track the mysterious objects afterwards. In other words, the equipment was fine. It was brand new. On November 14th, Commander Fravor was flying a mission off the USS Nimitz when he eyeballed the object, and we've talked about that. As Fravor landed, he told Underwood, who was just preparing to take off on his own mission, to be aware of unusual activity. Fravor said, "Hey, dude, BOLO, be on the lookout for something weird." Underwood said in his interview, published earlier this week, So go out there. So we go out there where our designated training is. We're not necessarily looking for something, but the Princeton had a specific object that they wanted us to hunt for lack of a better word. And all of a sudden, I got a blip on my radar. Underwood said he did not see the object with his own eyes because he was focused on capturing video footage for intelligence to analyze later. But he added, the thing that was the most interesting to me was how erratic this thing was. If it was obeying physics like a normal object that you would encounter in the sky, an aircraft, a cruise missile, some sort of special project that the government didn't tell you about, it would have made more sense to me. The part that drew our attention was how it wasn't behaving within the normal laws of physics. Now, unusually, Underwood, he was never fully debriefed on his sighting, but had to take a phone call about the incident soon after he landed. In fact, he was still in his flight gear at the time. Underwood said, probably within 20 minutes or so of landing, I spoke to someone that I assumed was from NORAD. NORAD is the North American Aerospace Defense Command. He said, I have no idea what level I was talking to. I just wanted to answer them. And I was just basically handed a telephone and said, hey, answer these questions. Now, in the 15 years since, Underwood said he has not speculated on what might have been or what might not have been said in the interviews or interpreted in the interviews because he did not want his name attached to little green men crazies that are out there. Underwood added, I do not want to be part of that community. It is just what we call a UFO. I couldn't identify it. It was flying and it was an object. It's as simple as that. I'll let the nerds do the math and decide what they want it to be. I just happen to be the person who brought back the video. And again, Underwood has not written a book. He doesn't really do interviews. In fact, this interview he did this week with the UK Independent was the first interview he had done ever in 15 years. He's not interested in this. He told people what he saw. That was it. From Fox News, on Tucker Carlson's show. Tucker Carlson, who normally talks about Trump and Biden and politics, for whatever reason, back in July, asked Colonel David Fravor to be on his show. And again, David Fravor is the U.S. Nimitz pilot who was the first one to speak out about the Tic Tac UFO. And while much of the media have mocked the existence of unidentified flying objects, the U.S. Pentagon has been studying the subject for quite some time and apparently will release some of its findings soon. This is what Carlson is saying on his show. Now, Carlson then says, according to a new report by the New York Times, again, this is back in July, the U.S. government may have physical evidence of off-world vehicles not made on this earth. Carlson then said the government has also released footage of UFO sightings, including the 2004 encounter recorded from the advanced Navy fighter jet. Commander Fravor was then introduced, and Carlson introduced Fravor and asks him, according to the New York Times, the U.S. government has physical evidence of some sort of vehicle not made of this earth. What does that sound like? Now, again, this is not the sighting, but this is Carlson talking about the New York Times saying the government has physical evidence of some sort of vehicle. In other words, the government has a spaceship or parts of a spaceship. So he asks Fravor what he thinks of this. Fravor responds, well, that sounds to me, it sounds that way to me, Tucker. I never want to speculate what the government truly has, but I would say there's stuff out there. Kind of uncommittal, but that's what he says. Fravor then continues. I mean, the four of us chased the Tic Tac in 2004, and I have attested to it many times. Now, what we saw exceeded anything that we have in our inventory, far superior to the airplanes that we are flying at the time. And the planes we were flying at that time were brand new. So I would say, yes, there's stuff out there, and hopefully the government does have this stuff. Carlson then continues. So we spoke before about this, and you suggested the object you saw, the object you chased, the Tic Tac, behaved in ways that challenged your understanding of aeronautics, of physics, and that you didn't think it was likely that the object belonged to a foreign military. He then asks, do you think the government has concluded that this isn't for Russian or China, from Russia, from China, or from some other company? Fravor expanded. He responded, I'm pretty sure, just by some of the phone calls that we've gotten, that some of the people that we've talked to in the government, that they are unaware of this. I think that ties directly to the East Coast sighting. This is the gimbal video, and the Tic Tac are related. And I am willing to say this because I'm in contact with these people, and there are more incidents out there that are starting to come out, and people are starting to report inside the government of things that they've seen. And I think you're seeing it from people in the past because it always has been taboo to come out and talk about these things. Fravor then continues, you're now finding people from the past that are saying, hey, I saw this. I just never told the reporter because I was afraid of what people would think. I remember the Tic Tac UFO, which was seen in 2014, was not made public until 2017. What's that, 13 years later? That's when it was made public. So if stuff was seen today, when is that going to come out? The window closes. It's going from 14 years to 13 years to 10 years to 2 years. Fravor then continues. So I think since 2017, the world is starting to change because of publicity, because of the attention of the Senate and the Congress, because of people like Marco Rubio, the Intel Committee, and the Department of Defense are saying, hey, I want to report, and they want more information. Fravor then continues that I would say the government does have stuff, and I don't know what they have, but if they do, I would think that there's probably stuff out there like Roswell. He says if you go to Roswell, that was 73 years ago. If something did happen, because there's a lot of speculation that there was something other than a weather balloon, where is it? Now, to remember, just to remind you, July 6th, 1947, just outside of Roswell, New Mexico, the headline of the Roswell Daily Record stated, quote, RAAF, that's the Air Force at that time, the Army Air Force, captures flying saucer on ranch. I'm going to repeat that. The headline of the Roswell Daily Record stated, RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch. Now, where did they get that statement? The military made that statement. The military told the Roswell Daily Record that we are in possession of a crashed flying saucer, okay? Then the next day they said, nah, it's not a crashed flying saucer, it's a weather balloon. That's odd. Tucker Carlson then continues. He asks Fravor, so that raises the question, why all the secrecy? I mean, clearly the U.S. government has lied to the public for maybe 73 years. And he asks Fravor, what do you think? Fravor responds, well, if we go back to Project Blue Book, Project Blue Book really did two things. One, it investigated occurrences and sightings, okay? Occurrences and sightings that people saw. The other one was that it primarily was set out to debunk. In other words, prove that what they said was hokey. Now, I don't know why, says Fravor. I think that someone was trying to capture that technology. But if something lands in your front yard, there's no reason to deny that it existed or for the government to do so. Because if it's not collected by some means that's going to question our national security of our defenses or offense or defensive capabilities, then why would you hide it? It just baffles me. Like our incident, the Tic Tac. Why wasn't it thoroughly investigated at the time for something that literally could penetrate our airspaces, and they did nothing, absolutely nothing, until about 2009? That's the odd part about this whole Tic Tac UFO thing, about all these UFO things, okay? because 3 different people